Hi, I'm Amber. I got a sewing machine for Christmas this past year, and now that it's the middle of March and this whole crisis hit, I knew that I had to do something to give back to my community. And since I had a little practice sewing, I figured making the cloth masks was something easy that I could do to help contribute to make my community healthier. As it sits now, I've made 97 masks, and after that many, I've learned a few things about how to make masks in bulk. If you must know, my professional history is in manufacturing and I like to focus on Lean Six Sigma. So by batching and leaning out steps, it makes things a lot more efficient and overall a better product. In this video, I'm going to show you the easiest, most efficient way that I've found to make cloth masks in bulk in order to donate them to your local community. Before actually getting started on the actual steps, I just want to bring your attention to the resource links that I put in the comments. If you don't actually know how to sew but do have access to some materials in a sewing machine, I've linked up a great playlist that actually tells you how to use your machine and then sew, and then you can just apply that to the steps that I teach you to make this surgical mask. I'll also be making just a very basic mask, which all of the instructions are actually going to be in the video. But I'll make sure that those are in the comments too. But I also found another great link for a different style mask that's very detailed, has a lot of extra bells and whistles, like a metal nose piece that you can either cut with a Cricut maker, which I have one, or there's a printable version where you can cut them by hand. So a couple great resources in the comments below, or in the description below, if you'd like to check those out further. All right, so here's what we're going to be making. I have made tons and tons, 97 to be exact, surgical masks. The materials that I'm using, it is a cotton, just a plain quilters cotton, nice pattern on the outside, and then I have used flannel for the inside. I had read, seen somewhere that flannel is the best to use as a filter out of all the fabrics because it's woven tighter, a little bit denser, and it's going to block more particles than just using regular cotton. If you don't have access to actual flannel, that's fine. I would maybe put 4 layers of regular quilters cotton. So just, layer it up instead of just 2 fabric pieces here. And then there's elastic bands. So this is my personal try-on one that I won't be donating. But they really do work great. You just slip them on. And they offer a lot of coverage. There's the pleating here, so it opens up nice along your face. Still very breathable. Super cute, actually, with the pattern that I chose. So that's the most basic style that you're going to get of these masks. In the fewest steps, as you can see, there's really not much to them other than some elastic and 2 pieces of fabric. I've been making several different size masks, everything from youth size, adult small, up to an extra large. The only difference between the youth size and the adult sizes is the width of the mask. And the difference in the adult sizes are how long your bands are. So this is a small and this is an extra large. Personally, my head is a small. I've found in comparing with my husband, who is a size large, that coincidentally is our helmet sizes for our motorcycle helmets. So based on those measurements, it's pretty easy to judge about what size mask you would wear personally. So I've tried to make more medium and large sizes because I believe that those are probably the more common sizes that people would typically wear. When it comes to elastic supplies, you can see I've used a variety of different kinds of elastic as it's gotten pretty hard to get a hold of. Most craft stores have run out at this point. This is just some regular crafters elastic that I've had. Comes on a roll like this. Otherwise, you can get it in a little package like this. But you know, you just cut them to size for whatever you need. This is actually just a ponytail on the end of this one. I found that the round ponytails do not go through the machine very well. I suggest using a flat style like this. Most of them, once you cut them once, they'll be 6 inches long, which when we talk about sizing your elastic is actually the size that I use for a size small face mask. And then this one here is a headband, you know, from the store, just like a ponytail, but a headband. So I've actually cut this one in half. So one headband cut in half equals one mask, actually. So whereas you're getting 2 ponytails for one mask, one headband is going to equal one extra large face mask here. Now when we're cutting our fabric, we're going to be cutting it into rectangles. So this is a youth size. So the standard youth size is going to be 7.5 inches by 5.5 inches. And you can just cut up a whole bunch of squares like that. And then our adult sizes are going to be 9 inches by 6 inches. All right, when cutting fabric, I try to fold it as many times as I can. I measure out 9 inches going the one direction. And then I would continue to keep cutting all of these strips out like so. If you are using fabric by the yard of the regular quilters cotton, you can easily get all your squares to even out very nicely as long as you measure everything very well. 6 by 9, that's going to equal the actual dimensions, everything multiplied out anyway of the fabric. So just keep on with your 6 by 9 inches. So this piece that I cut out is already the 9 inches, in which case I can go ahead and cut out the 6-inch pieces. I've found it easiest to take the folded part and cut that at 3 inches right away, which will equal 6 inches. And then setting that aside, you can continue on with your 6-inch pieces like so. And then at the very end, all you're doing is trimming off the ends without having to measure it out or really worry, you know, if you're cutting too much off those ends. The flannel is going to be the same process. I measure out my 9 inches right away. Go ahead and cut out your 3 inches here. To make a 6 by 9, and then continue on cutting at the 6 mark. After I have all of my pieces, I just start assembling them together like so, right sides together. That way I'm all ready to go once I have my sewing machine up and going and I don't have to move supplies around. Now at this point, I will cut my elastic. 5-inch I have only used on the youth sizes, and that is very, very small. My 4-year-old, I have the youth size, and I actually have him in a size 6 band. So I don't really recommend going down to 5. 6 is pretty good for a youth. If you go much larger than that, they might as well be in an adult small size. So for youth, I would really only do a 6-inch band of elastic. Now, for adult sizes, a size small is going to be 6 inches. For a medium size, you're going to go 7 inches. An adult large is going to go up to 8 inches, and an extra large will be 9 inches. So it's fairly easy to remember. They go up in 1-inch intervals starting at 6 all the way up to 9, small, medium, large, extra large. The next step, now that we have our elastic cut in bulk and our pieces put together, is to start sewing. So we'll start on the 9-inch side. We're going to do 1/4-inch seams on that because it's the most efficient on our fabric. You'll notice I'm not doing back stitches on these. You'll see in future steps that it's not really going to matter if we lock those into place. So just saving a little bit of time and materials that way by not locking those in. And then repeat on the other side. Now that I have both of my 9-inch sides done, you'll see I didn't even bother to trim these. Those are going to get trimmed later. We're saving time. This is a bulk effort. Go ahead and take one of your elastic bands. I like to fold it in half and just tuck it right in there. And then work it up to be about 1/4 inch to a half an inch away from that seam there. I tuck it in to be exactly even with my fabric there. But just to show you where my seam is compared to where I'm actually tucking that in. And I can feel it's just kind of curved around in the fabric like so. And now that we're sewing that 6-inch side, I'm still going with the 1/4-inch seams here. And I'm gonna sew in. Once I get over that elastic band, I'm actually going to go back over it again just to make sure that it's still stuck in there pretty good. Then I'm going to take my fingers and just kind of work around that bottom one and make sure that gets all lined up once that first one is in place. You want it to be nice and smooth going around, not looped up, otherwise that might hurt the backs of people's ears. And again, we're just going to have this bottom one 1/4 of an inch to a half an inch away from the edge of that bottom seam there. Now on this very first side, I try to remember to skip a few inches and leave an opening. That way I can flip it right side out when I'm all done. And then you just repeat that on the next side. Once you have your whole batch sewn up, I then go over to my garbage can and I will trim the corners. That way they, when we turn it right side out, we have nice square corners. This is the point where we'd cut off that extra thread too. So just getting as close to we can as those at those corner seams, but not actually cutting our corners there. Once all your corners are cut, I go ahead and turn them all right side out. Like so. Once I have my whole pile turned right side out, I will then turn my corners so then they're nice and square. You can use the end of your scissors for this. I actually have a cute little tool from my Cricut machine that I've been using It's got a nice little point on it, but it's pretty dull, so it's not gonna trim or accidentally cut any of my fabric as I'm turning my stuff right side out. Here we have the ironing step. So we'll go ahead and take our mask, make sure that that area where we turned it right side out is nice and turned in. Go ahead and just press it really quick. Try to only get it on the fabric and not the elastic, otherwise it will melt the elastic if you stay on there too long. But that just gives us a nice crisp shape to work with on our next step where we start to pleat them. Now that we have our batch all pressed, we're going to go ahead and pleat our masks. So I like to fold it not quite in half, leaving maybe a 1/2 inch of the bottom there. You can kind of feel where your seam is. But I fold it like this first and then flip it right side up again. And you can see I'm kind of pinching that part with my fingers. Now, a lot of the other tutorials that I've seen, people have actually measured it out. For the sake of time and the practice that I have, my fingers are pretty good at measuring themselves. So I just start with that first pleat and then I'll pull it up again. And that looks fairly even that way. And as I'm pushing down, I'll pull up the bottom pleat with my thumbs there. So now we have 3 different folds, and we'll go ahead and put a pin in, hitting all of those layers on each side. I like to put it at least 1 inch over. That way I can just run it through the sewing machine without actually having to pull the pins out as I go. And we're going to sew just the ends. So when I do this, I like to get as close to the edge as possible without actually going over. So if I can get under 1/4 inch on this edge, I do it because I'm also trying to seal up that part where we turned it inside out too, because I haven't sewn that together at all at this point. So we'll go ahead and put those through. And I do back stitch here. These pleats like to get a little ruffled, so this is the part that needs the most finesse. And I found that when you go slower, it goes through the machine a little better. Those feed dogs actually catch it pretty good. And I do trim as I go here because those little pieces tend to drive me nuts. And there we have one completed mask. And of course, you'll have a bunch more to do at this point if you're batching. Otherwise, this also works as making one mask at a time. But again, very strong if you wanted to actually do a double stitch or a triple stitch or whatever going through there to give it a little extra strength. By all means, go for it. But these will actually hold up pretty well, all things considered. So as you can see, this is a size 8 band. This is a size large that I just made. As far as washing these goes, I have found that it's better if you don't put them in the dryer because of the flannel will tend to kind of grip onto all the fuzzy stuff. So when I wash them right now, I'm actually just putting them in the washer and letting them air dry. I hope this video helps you. Again, I'm an absolute beginner, so if you saw me mess up some sewing stuff or it's not quite right, I've been sewing for 3 months, but I've still made almost 100 masks now. So if I can do it, anybody can do it, really. I just want to give a super special shout out to all of the people who have donated supplies to me, whether it's been their own personal stash of fabric and elastic or have gone out and bought it for me in my attempt to make as many masks as possible for my local community. At this point, I have been in contact with the coordinator of our Catholic Charities warming shelter, and she will be able to distribute all the masks that I've made to other shelters, as well as the Salvation Army and our women's shelter. So at this point, that is where all of my masks are going, as the hospitals in my area have not requested any because they do not meet current standards and they still have their own masks available. So thank you for watching. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, please do leave them in the comments.